Well, joining us via Skype is Joe Drape, a sports writer for the New York Times and author of the book The Saint Makers Inside the Catholic Church and How a War Hero Inspired a Journey of Faith. Thanks so much for being with us. How are you?
Bishop Jay, thanks for having me. It's a nice day here in New York City as well.
Great, Joe.
Hey,
Great to see you.
We always let Kansas City Royal fans on the program.
What about Chiefs fans?
Today we will.
Okay.
I like the Chiefs. I was very happy that they won last year. It seems like a large leap, Joe, to go from writing a New York Times sports column to writing about the canonization process of a Kansas Catholic military chaplain, which was a great story, by the way, his life. We had it here on Catholic TV. Tell us what attracted you to this story.
You know, this falls under the Lord works in mysterious ways. I've had 6 previous books, all sports related. One of them took me to the middle of Kansas, to Smith Center in 2008. And it was about a high school football team that had won 67 games. And their 2 rules were get better every day and love one another. In the course of living down there, I came across the story of Father Kapaun. He was from the region. He was revered among the farmers and the agricultural community there. And in the nearby diocesan of Wichita, they were ramping up the canonization process. So, you know, I read up on him. I learned as much as I could, kind of just filed it away, thought it was interesting. Fast forward 7 years later, I'm out with an editor, my editor, and he said, "Is there anything outside of sports that you're interested to do?" And it just came out of my mouth, you know, Father Kapaun. I'm interested in this military chaplain, the most decorated in U.S. history, Medal of Award honoree. The fact that he was from very humble roots, and I am parochial and Jesuit educated, and I didn't really know how the saint process worked. So, you know, I had this wonderful biography. I had this process that is mystery to most of us that I could explore. And so off I went.
Wow, Joe, you know, the little that I know of the canonization process, it is, as you allude to, a rigorous, very time-consuming process. And you briefly share what surprised you when you met a priest by the name of Monsignor Robert Sarno. He works for the Congregation of the Causes of the Saints in Rome. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you know, it took me to the Vatican, and the thing that surprised me that he said is, you know, it is rigorous, it's time-consuming. The annual elapsed time between death and canonization is 181 years. It's costly. These causes can cost up to $1 million. But at essence, there's 2 points of becoming a saint. The first is you led a life of virtue that people aspire to. And the second, which I think is the most important and which he hit hard and it made sense to me, was we got to see ourselves in you. You got to be relatable. I mean, these are the Catholic Church's superheroes. The fact that they led good lives, that's extraordinary. But we got to see something in ourselves there to follow that example. And, you know, to me, that was a very succinct way to put it. And it really hit home with me because Father Kapaun was a farmer, grew up in the Depression, was like everybody else in Kansas, worked hard, dawn to dusk, man of few words, more of a man of action. And he had, you know, basically created this devotion of people who looked up to him. And then when he goes to the military, his flock grows because he's with men like him, and he treats everybody like they are gold. He is a man of action, not words. He's ecumenical. The Muslim soldiers from Turkey loved him. The Jews loved him. The Protestants loved him. The atheists loved him. All he would do is recognize the goodness in other people, and that's what he would tend to. And it really became a remarkable movement.
When you did this book, Joe, when you were writing it, was it a spiritual journey for you as well?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I had those first 2 parts I alluded to. The third part became very clear to me is that I still believed what I believed, but I was not connecting with God like I should be. And I didn't know, to use a sports metaphor, I had the yips. I was leaning over a 2-foot putt and I just couldn't get it in. So I put my antenna up and I started thinking about what was my dialogue with God, what was the authentic way to go about it. And, it happened to be a Jesuit priest that kind of brought it back to circle. Father Jim Martin, who I know you guys know, is my pastor at my parish, is a fellow writer. And we had lunch one day and he said, do you pray? And I said, yes, I pray. And he goes, what do you pray? And I said, Our Fathers, Hail Marys. What do you ask for? Nothing really. And he goes, you have a teenage son. If he was troubled or worried or needed help with something, wouldn't you want him to come to you? And I said, yes. And he goes, that's what God is. You got to figure a way to talk to him. He wants to be there for you. And then he asked something that I'm almost embarrassed to admit. He said, have you tried to pray to Father Kapaun? And boom, I'd spent 8 years with this guy and it never once dawned on me to ask him for help. And that sort of unlocked the whole thing. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm saved by any means, but I put the effort in now and have an authentic relationship, or at least I try to do that. And like most of us, some days are better than others. Some days I'd live very well. Some days I'm an utter failure. So, I think this goes with the Lord's mysterious ways. He wanted me to write this book to figure that out about myself as well.
Well, Joe, this has been a pleasure. Unfortunately, we're out of time. The book is called The Same Makers. Where can people find a copy?
Amazon, your local bookstore, anywhere you go.
Joe, thanks so much for joining us today, and keep writing those books, and have a great day. Stay safe.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Joe. God bless.
You.